You fucking idiot, Taya, you forgot to turn your mic on. Hi, let's start this again, shall we? Okay. First of all, I don't know if YouTube is working or not. Until Restream fix their shit, it might not be live on there, but I will upload it later, okay? Okay. Second of all, I'm just going to soldier on and fucking do this thing anyway. Whatever. Okay, so 2 live streams in one day, huh? Doing it twice in one day. It must be like a new relationship or something, eh? I don't know. It was better the first time I said it with my mic off. Anyway, one day I will actually have a stream that is under 20 minutes, where the sound works, where I don't look like shit, where I don't stutter, where something doesn't go wrong. That day will be the day before I die. Hopefully that isn't tomorrow. Anyway, okay, so I went to the shops. Okay, so I've been obviously very, very interested in this whole fucking situation with the coronavirus. Okay, and one thing I have been doing safely, I might add, from a safe distance and all of that sort of stuff, but I have been talking to people, okay? Because what I like to do is, because we do tend to live in a bit of a Twitter, news, Facebook, social media bubble, right? So those of us who are sort of boffins and, you know, all of those sorts of people, it's really hard, often hard to gauge. Oh, God, thanks. That has nothing to do with what I'm saying, but I appreciate it. Okay, so I'm just, for today, I'm going to turn the chats off. Bye-bye, chats. Okay. All right. So, yes, we won't have chats today, okay? Just because I want this to be fucking, I'm already 4 minutes in and I haven't even gotten to the point. So, so I went to the shops, right? And I find that it's actually very beneficial if you're in this kind of, any kind of area, right, where that crosses over this, or if you're interested. If you're a politician, you should most definitely be doing this, right? Which is talking to people and find out why they're saying what they're saying, what they're doing, why they're behaving the way they are, and what's on their minds, okay? And that's what I thought was really, I wanted to get this on a stream before I forgot about it, because I had a very interesting conversation with a guy, and he's about probably in his 60s. But, you know, you think of your old, you know, your sort of 60-year-old, your average sort of FIFO mining site guy. He's worked hard his whole life, right? That kind of guy. Put the picture in your head. That's what I had. I had a number of different other conversations as well, because I do talk to people. But this guy really, it was quite on point. So if you've had time, I doubt you have, but if you've had time to watch this morning's video where I talked about the legacy that Howard's economics has put on, you know, has contributed to this whole thing. I thought that it would just be me, right? That is political scientist. It's my job to turn around and say, well, this is neoliberalism fucking imploding on itself, right? And I thought that I'd have to defend that as a niche view. I don't think it is. From talking to this guy, right? He represents your average dude, right? Who lived through the 80s, he lived through 70s, lived through prosperity, and lived through, and is old enough to see Australia and how it has changed, right? In terms of political culture. And so, again, he's just one guy, but I think he's representative, right? Because it was actually a really interesting discussion. Let's get to the point, Taylor. So anyway, I went to the shops, and you know, I spend my time. I go to a local business. I don't go to the major chains. We're very lucky to have a good good local fucking groceries and stuff like that. So there's not really any major issue here. I did find it funny that I managed to score 2 boxes of tissues, and I can't believe I'm saying the word score, but they were our brand of tissue because Paul uses tissues a lot. And so I managed to score 2 boxes, and I had a laugh with the woman who was there because I asked her, I said, am I allowed to have 2 boxes or should I only take one? Right? I said, I can't believe I'm asking you this question, and she just laughed. Right? It's like, I want to do the right thing, but I did buy that, and I managed to score a Ventolin as well, which my son needs. So, making sure that we, have enough that we need without hoarding or without buying anything, excessively. That's been my approach. I still just go to the shops every day, right, to get fruit and veg and all that sort of stuff. I use good hygiene, all that. I don't see it as a problem at the moment. That said, okay, so I had a conversation with this guy, and we were just having a laugh. And the place that he works is actually apparently next to a Kimberly-Clark warehouse, right? Kimberly-Clark make toilet paper and tissues, right, among other things. And he said to me that they have an entire warehouse. So it started with, I can't believe this, right? Is this funny? I can't get toilet paper. Right, he has to stockpile food because they often go on site for months, 3 months at a time. He's got to feed like 60 people and provide for 60 people at a time. And now he's found himself unable to acquire supplies for going on camp. Right, so that's the background with this guy. Now, he said that Kimberly-Clark's warehouse is actually full of toilet paper. I still can't believe we're talking about this now. And he said to me, and confirm if this is true, Coles and Woolworths don't actually buy from Kimberly-Clark, right? And the thing that Woolworths and Coles have done, for those that are overseas, and I'm sure it's not an uncommon thing, they've done it in America as well, I'm sure of it. They've probably done it in the UK. I imagine the UK is a lot more dependent on imports in terms of, like for cattle and milk and those sorts of things. That's my understanding. But what Woolworths and Coles have done pretty, systematically over the last 20 years is use their purchasing power to basically just favour certain local producers and not others. Grey import a number of products, right? So they use their purchasing, the way that you would imagine. They use their purchasing power to drive prices down, put farmers under pressure, put local producers under pressure. Now, it's important to mention that, and I'll try to keep this only another few minutes because it's a bit waffly, but I just wanted to point out that these practices, the everyday person notices, right? I think it's important. I know a lot of us have this idea of the average person being fucking like stupid, but they're not, right? They know what's going on, right? They don't necessarily make the connection between who they vote for and this happening over here, right? That's where the ignorance lies. But your average person can spot a con, right? And Coles and Woolies have, despite all of the stuff they're doing now, right, for the most part have massive control of the market. And so anyway, fucking wandered off. I shouldn't be doing an afternoon stream because I'm fucking turning into a pumpkin. But I just wanted to point out there are warehouses full of toilet paper that Kimberly-Clark make, that Woolworths and Coles, because they don't purchase from Kimberly-Clark and they've got a different provider, right? They find themselves fucked. Now, the thing that I wanted to talk about was how this guy was laughing his ass off, right? And then we started talking. And this morning I mentioned, just as a throwaway comment, to join your union and to think about how your union is fighting for you if you've got one, and unions are fighting for the rights of workers in general. And it was a throwaway comment, but it was funny because I asked this guy about that, and we got talking about Woolworths and Coles and what they do. And I said how, the particular shop that we go to is pretty safe because they use local providers and they negotiate well. I noticed that there was pasta and sauce and tissues and there wasn't any toilet paper, but that's just something that's just gone mental. But he, obviously buys from multiple providers and has different suppliers, right? So what I found interesting was just how he saw the connection between the, Coles and Woolworths abusing their market power, right? Their power in the market and their purchasing power, the way that Kmart have done with all of their stuff in Bangladesh, the way that Amazon do with sellers, the way that a lot of these big corporations do. But this guy, again, I can explain the theoretical framework and it would be boring as fuck. But this guy just sees it for what it is. He says, well, fuck him. So I just thought, I thought it was an interesting point to see that people know this stuff. They're not dumb, right? They are fucking retarded in many ways. Like, stop buying up the toilet paper. Please, just stop. But anyway, what's interesting also, side point, is what people are actually buying. Like, how are people, like, maybe they're buying up the toilet paper because they know that their diets in the apocalypse, if it comes, is going to be fucking terrible. Because, as you walk through the supermarket, ignore the panic, but just take a stroll and observe. People watching is a wonderful thing to do. But you sit there and you walk from aisle to aisle, and and it's like you'll go from a full shelf of things like supplements, protein shakes, all of those sorts of things that would actually sustain you in this situation. And the things that are being bought out are the fucking, the pasta, the sauce, potato chips, all the dairy fucking products, bread, all of the stuff that's actually white flour, baking paper. Again, I assume that people are going to be using all of that flour for something. But it's fascinating because, but all the nuts are there. Right? All of the things, it's also just been enlightening to know how little people understand nutrition, right? That, pasta and rice, yes, you can live on them and yes, they're cheap, but they're not very nutritious, right? And it's also funny because you'll go through the freezer aisle, right? And this is the Spud Shed, so that's a local supermarket for us. They're a local disruptor sort of in that space. But what you'll see is people have cleaned out the peas, the frozen peas. But right next to it, they haven't done it with the corn, right? But they've got the mixed veg in bulk, but they don't have this and they do have that. And it's just funny because there's actually, what has fascinated me most is that there's no real rhyme or reason to this because people are panicking. Now, I just started waffling because it's funny, but I think it's really important to just have a chat to people because I'm learning more and more about this stuff as I talk to people within a safe distance and all of that, yada, yada, okay? Because it is really interesting. But this guy, we got talking just about that, and he's like, well, fuck Coles and Woolworths, right? Because and also Western Australians are probably a little better. If you're in mining and you're used to going on site or you're used to that kind of culture where, there's a chance anyone up north is fine, right? Because they're used to being reined in or needing a 2-week supply of food anyway. It's mostly those in the city that are probably doing this, but it's the ones in the country that are actually going to suffer the most because of distribution. But yeah, so anyway, and again, I'm fucking incoherent today, but I'm soldiering on. But this guy is basically like, well, yeah, fuck him, right? And he pulled out, we started talking and it made me laugh. And he just pulled out his wallet. It was a, tatty old fucking thing, right? Tatty old leather thing that, has probably got like it could probably be the cure for coronavirus because it's got, it's had so much shit on it. It's like Mr. Burns, where it cancels out the other fucking illnesses. But this beautiful old wallet, and he opens it up and he shows me his TWU card. And I just sat there and I went, isn't that weird that today I just happened to mention how unions are going to have a comeback? Right? Unions are fighting the good fight for us right now, the trade union movement. And I hope that we see a resurgence in union membership and people saying enough. Okay. Now, with this guy, we were sitting there having a bit of a chuckle because I said, look, my point was, what was my point? What was my point, Taya? My point was that he himself, without me saying it, right? He said Howard fucked this country right up. And I just went, wow, that's interesting because, again, he's got family and friends and he's observed this shit. He's got teachers in his family. He's got doctors and nurses in his family. And he actually said, like what I said this morning, they have systematically and methodically stripped every asset, every public good, every fucking institution, and of all of its resources, right? We've all been fucking like gutted for the last 20 years by the Liberals. And every time people have enough and they vote Labor in, right, some economic catastrophe happens and they blame Labor. Now, this time they can't. Okay, so there's a little part of me that wants to sit back and just fucking enjoy this. And I know that sounds terrible. I'm not trying to be one of those people that sort of overly politicizes, but the thing is that this is political in nature. This could have, a lot of this stuff could have been avoided if we had not been kissing the ass of America fucking 24/7 to the point where we have no fucking national identity of our own anymore, right? Working class, all these people that have fucking just become, we're just basically Americans with Australian accents at this point, right? We're getting fatter, we're getting unhealthy, we're getting all of the same fucking lifestyle diseases that Americans have. We consume like Americans, right? We consume more American media than we do local content. Content, that's what I make. I make local content. I think calling this content is generous. But I just want to say, right, he turned around without prompting and said, this was John Howard's doing. He pushed us into private health. He's like, fucking, I got people. He pushed, he put pressure on education. They stripped our economy. They stripped our welfare system and they're fucked. And it's good that this is happening. And I was like, wow, I literally said that this morning. And I thought that was a niche view. And I've talked to a few other people where that sentiment is now coming across, where people see what this government has done, right? And what tech companies and what billionaires have done to our economy, right? And they've had a gutful, right? It might be a gutful of pasta. But at the same time, like, seriously, if this government thinks that this is such a great opportunity to recalibrate ourselves, like in Italy, right? People just not being on the roads and pollution is reduced and the canals are cleaning themselves. And, maybe we can look at this as an opportunity to regroup, that we have been blessed with a second chance, like when it comes to like how we consume and climate change and how we run our economies. Okay, and get back to how it used to be. And I know that makes me sound a million years old, but you can go fuck yourselves, okay? Things have gotten crazy. The wheels have fallen off. And I think that if you're pushing for neoliberal capitalism right now, we're seeing the death of it. I hope. I really hope that we can just get back to a mixed economy and stop these fucking Americans that say that anything that's like remotely not fucking complete, every man for himself, capitalism is socialism. You can fuck off too. It's not. It's a mixed economy. It's called Keynesian economics, and it's a nice little compromise, right, that keeps us fucking prepared for events like this, right? Keynesian economics came out of the fucking Great Depression, right? And it's proven to be true, which is that the more you spend, okay, during these times. You help with consumer spending, help with consumer demand. The irony of this is that the panic buying is probably the only thing that's actually going to keep us from diving into a full-on fucking, very deep depression. Yeah, well, depression. I don't like to use an alarmist language, but a recession at minimum, right? It'll be a recession for some, but, this consumer, that's the twisted irony of it, is that panic buying is actually probably the one thing that's actually providing any kind of stimulus for the economy right now. So, it's not a bad thing. It's a bad thing because selfish people ruin everything for everyone else all of the time, right? But capitalism is the same, right? Capitalism works if people are good, but there's a good fucking 10, 15% of people who need laws. All of the laws that ever existed exist for the fucking minority of cunts, okay? Don't put your hairdryer in the bath. That's for most ordinary people, but that's for the fucking 10% of people that don't know that you fucking will die if you put your hairdryer in the bath. Don't drink this bleach. That kind of shit. That's all of the laws we had or have and will continue to have are because of the dumb cunts. But most of us aren't, okay? Most of us are reasonable people, right? So anyway, shopping adventures. I've been talking to people, and I will talk to people as long as I'm allowed, right? As long as it's appropriate. But, people are talking about it, right? People are talking, and they are fucking putting two and two together quickly. And I really believe this government is fucked. And if the ALP don't start pushing harder for the roots, or for our roots as a worker party and as a party for the working class, not the woke fuck elites, okay? Please, Labor, the next election is yours to lose. Please get your shit together, okay? And yes, I'm a member of the party, and I will do the same thing. I will do my bit. But can you please stop cancelling fucking lesbians and supporters over your magic fucking gender shit, so we can focus on this and we can win and we can get society back on track, okay? Sorry, I know this wandered off. It's been 24 minutes. You've seen way too much of me today. I'm going to probably do quite a few more impromptu streams at the moment, just because I'm having a lot of thoughts and I don't get time to write. And, my back hurts and shit, so I can't sit for long periods. I can't stand for long periods and I can't sit for long periods, and I'm fucking stressed. One thing I did do is go to the pharmacy and ask them which drugs are a problem at the moment, and it's mostly the over-the-counter drugs. So because people have lost their minds, okay, obviously you can't panic buy prescription drugs, particularly painkillers, because and for me, I'm on Valium, and my stuff is all no repeat anyway. I have to go see. So, but one thing that you do need to know is that asthma inhalers, if you are dependent on those, you need to make sure, don't panic buy them, but buy one. Please don't go without. I know most people carry extra anyway, but just have one, okay? Especially if you're in a situation where this is a fucking disease that affects the lungs and you find yourself without an inhaler, But yeah, I'm just reporting what I know. And let's just, keep being kind to each other, have a laugh, and also realise that people aren't fucking stupid. They're worried, right? They've heard pandemic and quarantine. That's what they had. I was talking to the butcher as well, and I asked him, I said, what are the, give me a word, because he was a young guy. I said, give me a word cloud, right, on the key things that people are talking about, the key themes. He said, all they're saying is pandemic and quarantine. It's somehow gotten to them that there's a quarantine and that there's a pandemic, and so people are losing their minds. Right? I love how it's like a kid at all of 22. He's like, I've never seen anything like it. And I said, fuck, I'm twice as old as you and I haven't seen anything like it. And I'm sure there's 65-year-olds out there that are like, fuck, I'm older than you and I haven't seen anything like this either. And then someone who's at World War II is like, in my day, it was all fucking normal. I have seen it. 1934. Anyway, I'm going to go. Love you. Have a great day. Be nice to each other. This was shit, as usual. If you want to give me pity money on Patreon, you know what to do. Okay, love you. Bye. I'm going to call it pity money from now. Bye.